So I experienced period diarrhea this week.
See?
And karma has come after me because you said it's a thing. And I said, oh, that sucks for you. And then I had it. And if that's not karma, then I don't know what is. Because that turnaround time was way too fast.
It's like a week.
Literally
like
a week.
The next period.
My next period, yeah, was a period diarrhea situation.
Hey guys. Hey Shannon.
Hey Lauren.
Okay, so me and Shannon have
Welcome back to What They Don't Say.
Okay.
You have to say it. It's our name. In
Okay.
case you didn't know.
Okay, well, welcome back to What They Don't Say.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is that me and Shannon haven't really caught up in a while. So we're kind of just going to start this show by just catching up a little bit and just talking about some stuff that has happened the past few days that will kind of then lead us into a little bit more of a deeper dive into
Trauma talks.
Trauma talks.
Our favorite topic, and your favorite topic too, is trauma. It's a topic that everyone has a part in because we've all experienced something.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. We're just going to dive right in.
On Friday, I went ski touring, went climbing, and then I was climbing Golden, so I was like, I'm not gonna fucking drive back to Boulder, so I drove straight to Denver to meet up with Mustache Man.
Mustache Man. Okay.
Because apparently that's what we're calling my boyfriend right now. And we had plans to go to the Christkindl market, which is the German Christmas market.
Okay.
In Civic Park.
It doesn't really
in the
matter.
middle of Denver, whatever.
You were going to a German Christmas market with Mustache Man.
Yeah. And I don't remember what the conversation was or what we were talking about, but we started talking about some deep shit, and we were driving home, and we get back to this house, and we just start talking, we're just lying in bed, and we're talking about stuff, and he's like, I love you, right? And I'm like, yeah. And then he's kind of just sitting there, and he's just staring into space, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on in his head right now?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, is he thinking? He looks like he's thinking. What is happening? What is going on? And I'm like, hey, what are you thinking about? Turns to me, and he's like, you never tell me you love me.
Oh my goodness, Lauren.
And I'm sitting there, and in my mind, I'm like, I feel like I say it all the time. But if he feels that way,
you're not doing it enough.
Yeah, clearly I'm not doing it enough. And I'm kind of so I'm trying to just I wasn't gonna be what are you talking about? No, I say it all the time. I was like, okay, okay. And I was like, what? How the fuck do I respond to that? And it's just I was like, well, that I do. I love you so much. I made that super clear. And I was like, okay, maybe I don't say it enough. I wonder why. And I was trying to figure out what in me was just making it hard for me to, maybe not hard for me, but just not to think about it as much, or whatever it might be.
I mean, do you say I love you every time you leave each other?
Yeah. Every
time, maybe good night, love you.
Yeah.
Good morning, I love you. Things like that. The other thing that it could be is if he's not really if words of affirmation is not his love language, then you might be telling him that you love him a lot, but you might actually need to show him that you love him through other things, whether it's acts of service or gifts.
But I don't think so. I think he I think it is the words of affirmation. I think he wants me to be saying it more. And
or also a letter.
It was, well, yeah, but I think it's his point was more day to day. He was just what if I leave and something happens to me?
Oh, dog, you can't pull that one
I
off.
know!
People who
and then
people die.
And then I'm like, oh my God, and he's I always want you to know that I love you. I don't ever want you to doubt that. That's awesome. Yeah, I want you to feel the same way. And I was just sitting there, and I was I don't know, I guess in my mind, maybe to me, like, if you say I love you too much, it won't mean as much.
Yeah.
And, like, it loses its value or something.
I don't think that it's weird to think, oh, if I say it too much, then I will lose the power and all this. Because I think a lot about the first time that, you know, my partner said that he loved me, and when I said it to him, it felt so powerful and so exciting, and just this overwhelming of every time I said it for about a week after that, it felt very exciting. But just like all things in life, it fades. But it doesn't mean that you, like when you say I love you 50 times a day versus one time a day, it doesn't make it less powerful. And it's also about kind of keeping the meaning behind it alive. It's still doing the things that you did before you necessarily loved each other or when you first fell in love with each other. And it's hard to do, but if he's feeling like you are not telling him I love you enough, you need to say it more. And the whole thing of what if something happens to me? That's literally the reason why I say I love you to everyone when I hang up the phone, whether I'm upset or not. I do it because I think, oh, it'll soften the blow if they die, because at least I said I love them, which really isn't true, but it's sort of a mind game there.
Yeah, I mean, like, I get it. Like, it's not stupid. It's not stupid at all. Like, he, like, was totally right. Like, he had every right to feel that way. I think it was just hard to sit there and be like, wow, like, I have never even thought about that or, like, realized that. Like,
because you feel so loved by him.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
where is my head at? And then, like, that led into the next thing, which, like, I think is, like, this is, like, super trauma related.
Okay.
I think it's, like, a total, like, trauma response. But he
We're
was like,
entering the trust tree.
he was like, there are times when we're hanging out where you just disappear and you're, like, gone. Like just like physically I'm there, but I'm just, like, gone.
Like, you're not participating, you're not,
like, maybe I, like, just, like, am, like, not very responsive. Like, I'm just, like, so shut down. And I'm like, yeah, that happens. Like, that's just, like, something that, like, I do. And he's like, well, like, are you sick of me? Like, what's going on? Like, he thought it was, like, him. Like,
his
he
fault.
thought that, like,
Okay.
I was, like, shutting down, or, like, I was just, like, bored of, like, hanging out with him or, like, talking to him. So, like, I shut down because of that. And I was like, wow, like, I didn't even think about that at all. I didn't even think about, like, the fact that, like, I know that I shut down, but I think that maybe I shut down more than I think I do, and I'm, like, not very aware of it. And because he'll try to talk to me. He'll be like, hey, what's wrong? Hey, what's going on? And I'm always just like, oh, nothing. Like, you know? And then part of me does that because I'm like, well, like, maybe we're trying to sleep or something. And, like, I don't want to keep him up. Like, I want him to be able to sleep and not have to, like, carry what I'm carrying. And so, like, I don't tell him. And I said that to him, and he was like, well, that, like, actually doesn't make me feel any better, because then, like, you don't talk to me and then you feel even farther away. And, like, I would just rather you, like, tell me what's going on, and, like, your problems are my problems. Like, why? Like, but not, you're just, like, so distant, and that just, like, makes me feel worse or makes me think I did something or, like, whatever. And then I was like, fuck, like, why don't I just, like, never am aware of that stuff? Like, I just don't even, like, process it. And, like, for me, it's just, like, yeah, like, sometimes I just, like, shut down or whatever, and, like, you just, like, move through it. And I don't, like, communicate anything. But I never thought of how my lack of communication was impacting him.
Right.
And so then I had to, like, proceed to talk to him about, like, I think that, like, part of it is, like, maybe sometimes you get, like, triggered by something. Like, it can, like, be, like, a smell. It can just, like, be something so random at such a random time. And then you, like, start, like, you just, like, are brought back to something, you're, like, thinking of something. And, like, that happened to me this past week. Where, like, we were, like, getting into bed, and, like, for some reason something, like, sent something off in my brain, and, like, I, like, went back into, like, this, like, bad memory, and I, like, totally shut down. And he was like, hey, are you okay? And I was like, yeah.
But you weren't.
But I wasn't, and I was just like, whatever. And so I had to, like, talk to him about, like, how, like, I had to talk to him about that stuff, where I was just like, yeah, like, I've been through this stuff that, like, you know, can just, like, impact me in really random moments, and, like, that's why I shut down. Or, like, something makes me super anxious, and, like, I just shut down. And I was like, it never has to do with you.
Right.
Like, it never has to do with you. Like, it's something so, like, internal from something so, like, external that, like, I experienced. that like it is just so much deeper. There's like so much more going on. Like it has never had anything to do with you. I just like felt so bad though, because I was like never realizing that.
Well, so we all know what emotional intelligence is here, right? So with emotional intelligence, I'm pretty sure there's 5 different pieces of it. I don't remember what they all are, but I know that like self-awareness, empathy, things like that are a part of it. But part of being self-aware is recognizing like how you're impacting the people around you. And when you're in a relationship, there's something that has to happen and you need to start operating as a unit. Like I think about in a machine, there's a bunch of different parts and those parts work by themselves, but together they create something else, right? So they're independent pieces that can do things by themselves, but maybe they create something better together. And that's kind of how you have to operate life when you have a relationship. Like you are a fucking unit working together. And what that means is you need to be aware of the people around you and how you impact them with your actions. Because when you're in a relationship, almost everything that you do, that you experience, and how you act impacts the relationship in some way, shape, or form, whether it's big or small. And that's one of the biggest shifts. Excuse me.
Cute.
That's one of the biggest shifts that happens from being single to being in a relationship, is understanding that what you do impacts the other person. And that's hard. And that's why relationships are challenging. And that's why a lot of root problems come from you're not working together. So, you know, you were sitting there, you were feeling a certain type of way, and your immediate reaction is to shut down, which there's no situation in life where shutting down is the right move, most likely, you know, but it's an emotional response to trauma. So there you are, you're in that, you're shutting down. And when you were alone, you would have just sat there and you would have been shut down and you would have just sat in it. But now your partner, who is recognizing, oh, Lauren isn't feeling good, something is off, they automatically assume that it's their fault, right? Because you don't tell them. So the things that you would have done before when you're alone don't really fly when you're with somebody else. Mm-hmm. And that's an act, like there's nothing that you can, there's not a fast track to learning how to do that. Is literally in those moments, reminding yourself or doing to the best of your ability, saying, I have a partner. They need to know. We don't have to talk about it a whole lot right now, but they need to know that it's not them. So starting there. And then after that, maybe you can work towards not shutting down or whatever. But it's that mindset of like, we are a unit. I am not by myself anymore. We are here together.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like a mindset shift. And I feel like it's like a mindset shift though for like any kind of relationship or like friendship you're in.
Yeah.
To recognize, okay, like right now I'm shutting down. I don't like feel really great. Maybe this is why. And then not only like recognizing that, but then like, yeah, like being aware of, you know, I'm around my friends right now and I'm not saying anything, or like my head's kind of down. Maybe I don't look great or whatever it might be. And it's like important to like ensure that, you know, like not only to like bring yourself out of it, because like you can ground yourself, right? And like in those moments, like grounding yourself, maybe like talking to the friend that's like sitting next to you, or just like saying how you're feeling, or just like externalizing it so you can kind of be brought out of like being in that shutdown state. And like that can be like really hard because it can feel scary. And like I think for me, it's just like you don't want to burden other people. And like most of the time you're doing something else, right? You're not just like sitting there with that person or your friends or whatever and not doing anything. Like, you know, maybe you're like out to dinner or like getting drinks or like whatever, and everyone's having like a fun time, or like your partner's having a fun time, and then you just like so quickly go down into this like weird hole that you're like, whoa, how the fuck did I get here?
Yeah. And
you're like, well, I don't want to ruin their night, so I'm just going to sit here and be quiet. But by sitting there and being quiet, you are ruining their night, because then they're sitting there and they're like, well, what the fuck's going on with them? And then like you feel even worse, because then you're like, wow, now my night's ruined and I'm ruining their night and I haven't even said anything. And then you just like go into this like whole spiral of like, it's just like this positive feedback loop where you're like, I feel like shit and now they feel like shit. Negative, and I'm not saying anything because I'm like, yeah, no, it's positive.
Because it keeps going.
Because it keeps going.
I see. Okay.
Science. But then like for some reason it can be so hard. Like the deeper you get into that, it can be even harder to like open your
yourself
mouth
out.
and just like fucking say something and like communicate that you are just in this place. But I think that like it's just scary because they just really might not understand, and that's okay. They don't need to understand or like know what you're going through, but like to like be able to support you.
Mm-hmm.
But it can just like feel very like if you're triggered by something that is fucked up and just like, you know, not a fun story, you just like don't have a lot of motivation to like then like go and be like, well, this is like what I'm thinking about right now. Like that just seems very, yeah, I don't know.
Well, there's this wonderful phrase that I've used a lot in the past few months in life, in my relationship with my boyfriend and other relationships with friends and stuff. And the phrase is, put a pin in it. And essentially, in a moment like that, if you are having some form of trauma flashback, or you're unhappy, or your partner did something that doesn't make you feel great, or whatever, just some sort of negative emotion that you're experiencing in a moment of time, perhaps around other people, you say, like, recognizing first that you're going to be way better off in the long run, and everyone around you is going to be better off if you say something about how you're feeling. It doesn't need to be a long thing. It can just be a, hey, everyone, I know we're all having a great time, but I'm actually kind of experiencing something. I don't want to talk about it, but I might just be in a weird mood, and I'm just feeling a lot of things right now. I just want you to know. So 1, it's getting out of your body, and 2, people around you know that it's not them. Like you can say it's not you guys. It's not you, it's me. That sort of a thing. And then going from there, it's especially if this is a problem with your partner, like not necessarily something they did, but something that directly impacts them. It's hey, this is the brief gist of what's going on, you know, whatever that brief gist is. And then saying, I want to talk about it, but not right now. We're just going to put a pin in it for later. And making sure you actually do talk about it later at a time, because all these emotions rarely, or problems like this rarely arise at a time where it's just you and one other person and the problem is directly related to them. It tends to be when you are in a group setting, there's not really an ideal time for these things to come up, and that's when they come up the most. So just kind of putting the pin in it and then waiting for a better time to talk about it. Seems to be a pretty successful thing. I'm not a relationship god or anything. I'm not the best. I screw up all the time, but it's been a phrase that has worked really well. But also what put a pin in it means is, let's say you're angry at your partner. Putting a pin in it means that you are putting that anger on hold. It is truly like, I love you. I'm not going to let the sun go down with us still being mad at each other. You can't get rid of all emotions, but it's recognizing like this pin is here, which is getting rid of some of my anger too, so that we can start tomorrow on a good note. We can continue the night on a good note. And when we are going to talk about it, we're going to talk about it. But I'm not going to hold all of that emotion into every piece of the rest of the night or every piece of the rest of the day.
Yeah. I think it's easier said than done.
Absolutely.
As someone who can get like really caught up in a negative emotion and just like want to like, you know, set the world on fire.
Yeah.
And
crash your car into the person, throw them off a bridge sort of thing.
Yeah. And you're like, well, I know I'm feeling and thinking irrationally right now, but like it can be really hard, and it can get really hard. Like it can become so easy to like lose yourself in that and just like let yourself like stay on this slide that's just bringing you down into a deeper hole. And I think that like for me, I get super stubborn. And I'm like, oh, like, I'm just, like, angry, so I'm going to fucking stay angry. And I know that if I said something right now, that it would probably make it better. But I'm going to be a stubborn-ass bitch and not. And, like, that's so stupid because then, like, you do open your mouth and communicate even, like, a little bit of it. And it does, like, relieve that. It totally does. And it totally works. Like, it makes everything so much better. And like this happened to me like last night. Like I was in a shitty mood. It had been a stressful fucking day.
Right.
It ended not well. And I was just like so goddamn angry, and I was so tired. And I was like, I could just hold on to this anger, like not say anything to my partner and just like fucking go to sleep. And like he like was in the shower, and like I just like got into bed and like closed my eyes. And like I was like not asleep, not even close, but I pretended like I was, so that like
just to win.
Yep. Just so that he would turn the light off and get into bed and think that I was asleep, and like that was gonna be it. I was gonna be angry. He knew I was like angry, and like that was just like how we were gonna end the day. And I just stayed like that for a while. But then I was like, Lauren, like just take a deep breath. do you really want to wake up the next morning like feeling this way? No, like it fucking sucks. So I turned over and I just talked to him. I said, I'm angry right now. I'm tired and I'm annoyed. And 10 minutes later, we were just like giggling and like talking about like shooting the shit. Like it literally changed everything. Just me like taking down my stubbornness and just being like, this is what's going on. Yeah.
Removes the chaos from yourself.
Yeah.
Because all that chaos is usually really internal. And especially if you have a good partner. If you have a partner who's toxic, then honestly, you're screwed and you should leave that relationship as fast as you possibly can. Because being healthy won't really matter in a toxic relationship. But if you have a good partner, the chaos, like, that doesn't work. It's like that, it's punching a brick wall.
It is. But it's
you
like
think
that little like toxicity in you that's like...
it will feel so good to be angry and say shit that I don't actually really mean in the moment because I'm angry.
Yeah.
Well, way to go for saying how you really felt in that moment. It's hard. Relationships are a constant conversation, a constant challenge. It should be something that's always worked on. And it's pretty easy to realize that a lot of those times that are more complicated are coming from you and probably not the other person.
Yeah. But like, that's the thing though, is that I think it has made me more aware of like parts of myself that are just like a little bit more broken. And that's okay. Like, I think that like, you know, when you've like been through certain things and you've like been through a lot, like you just like are carrying a lot, even if you're not aware of it. And when you are like spending time like by yourself or like you're like not like in a relationship, it's just like I feel like you're not as aware of those problems. But then when you see them start impacting someone so directly, then you're like, well, shit. Like,
the relationship is a breeding ground for realizing your trauma.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it's like also made me realize like how I like kind of deal with it or
don't deal with it.
And like, I think that, you know, first to a certain extent, like, you know, I've done a really good job, but there's always going to be that like leftover stuff. And like, there's always going to be like, certain things like probably like are never going to like leave me. And I have to like, so it's not about like getting over it. It's about like learning how to like coexist with it in a way that's like healthy for you and like your friends or your partner or your family. And I think like that's like the really like difficult thing. Like, I think that's like the biggest challenge to figure out. And it just is one of those things that I feel like comes with time and like learning more about yourself and understanding like how you're handling things and dealing with things, which can like look really different for everyone.
There's this quote. It was from one of the first books that I read as I was getting older. And by older, I think I was actually in 7th grade. But I feel like you're not really alive before 7th grade. You know, you're not really there. Any hoosers, I read this book, and one of the first quotes in the book is, "It's not your fault if you're fucked up. It's your fault if you stay fucked up." And that one hit me really hard because to an extent, your trauma impacts you a lot. I mean, well, sorry, let me try that again. Your trauma, like anybody's trauma, will impact them a lot. And depending on what sort of trauma you've had, will probably stick with you for your entire life. And that's not your fault. It's not your fault if you're sexually assaulted. It's not fault if someone dies. Sorry, it's not your fault if somebody dies. That's not your fault. But it is your fault if you choose to let it be a fire in your life that destroys your relationships, that destroys your productivity, destroys everything. And it's because there are resources in this world, such as therapy, such as talking to friends. And also, you are not a tree. Like, you are not stuck in this trauma. You know, you're very capable of learning how to work through it, learning how to work through triggers and flashbacks. And it's not to say that those emotions later on in life or the way your trauma has affected you is bad or wrong or anything like that. It's just, you can't always use your trauma as an excuse for everything, right? Like, it might be what caused it, but really, you're in charge of your emotions. You're in charge of your reactions. And that might be a hot take, especially in those moments where I am feeling incredibly emotional and just want to crash my car or something like that. Or not crash my car.
Well, I think that like there's a difference between reacting and responding. And I think that like reaction does come from those immediate emotions that like yeah, maybe like aren't really in your control. But response is understanding how to take those emotions that feel out of control and take a step back, get them into control, and then assess the situation.
Yeah.
And know what to do moving forward.
Yeah. That was well said. I just think it's like an interesting thing of once you get older and once you really start to realize, or as you make realizations about how much your trauma may have impacted you and maybe you didn't realize it, you know, it's kind of your duty as an adult and a functioning being in society to figure out how to manage yourself, because no one else can work through your trauma for you. And it's really hard work. Like when you actually have to sit down and either go to therapy or be incredibly mindful of how you're responding to people or how your actions are impacting others, it's a lot of work. It's not glamorous at all. It's not sexy, but your quality of life will increase immensely if you can do that work. And once you realize that you actually do have agency in your life and these traumas are not like they don't need to be the dumpster fire that your life turns into. So you had a conversation with someone on Friday as well. Someone else. Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this got me like just like thinking more about like reactions and responses that people have to trauma, and like no matter like what the trauma it is you're going through. But like he said something kind of like interesting to me, and he was like, yeah, like I just have noticed that, you know, my friends that have gone through, you know, some of just the most twisted and fucked up trauma have a much easier time like talking about those traumas. But then when it comes to the like day-to-day kind of stuff or just things that like can day-to-day make you sad or angry or upset, they like really struggle with talking about those things because, you know, they've just become like so desensitized to like the deep traumas that they went through, and then everything else just doesn't feel like it's worth. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it matters, you know, like you, and I feel this, right? Like when you have gone through something that's like, you know, a death or assault or whatever, you just think to yourself, well, I've been through that, so why is this little thing today making me so sad or making me so angry? Like I should be able to get through this. I shouldn't have to talk about it. Like I should just be able to like fucking, you know,
man up.
Yeah, like
grow a pair and like, deal with that shit, bitch.
Exactly. Like you're like, I should just be able to fucking deal with this. It's not a big deal. Like I've been through so much worse. Who the fuck cares? Like there's no point talking about this. There's no point in like internalizing this. Like just move the fuck on. And like I think I do that so much, right? Like I do that all the time. But then I'm
Lauren
like,
is the queen of not talking about things that happen in her life, like small things.
Because you're just like, well, they don't they just don't matter. Like
there's no weight.
Yeah, like where's the weight? Like it doesn't compare to other stuff I've been through. So why am I having such a strong emotional reaction to it? And I thought that was like an interesting comment he made, because then like it made me think about my own life and how I handle things, and like how maybe I do shut down, or maybe I like do get like really upset about things and I just try to play them off because they don't compare.
But the reality is those smaller things are probably affecting you more than the bigger things in your life, maybe.
I mean,
you know,
the bigger things happen less frequently, right? So it's like, okay, but then like the day-to-day stuff that happens like every single day, it weighs on you and it totally impacts you and it stresses you out and it gives you anxiety and like maybe like, you know, some other stuff, and you just, it can make you fall apart. Like it really can, but then you like don't do anything about it because you think that it's not worth doing anything about.
You discount it.
Yeah, you undermine like all those things that you're going through because it just doesn't compare to like the worst thing that you've ever been through. Then I feel like that definitely like probably takes a toll on you even more. And then before you know it, you've been like feeling this way for 3 weeks and like you're depressed as fuck. And you just didn't do anything about it from the start because you just thought it wasn't worth it. And now you're like, well, whoops.
Yeah. One of my least favorite things is when people say they'll be talking about their life and maybe something bad happened to them. You know, maybe they lost a grandparent recently that they weren't super close with. And they'll say, well, but that's like not near as bad as when your dad or brother died. And I hate that shit. Do not sit there and tell me that like my trauma is worse than yours. And there's obviously a sort of base here. Like, yeah, if your entire family died in a plane crash versus like your fish died. Okay, we can recognize yeah, one is worse than the other, maybe. But on the other end of things, if we're constantly sitting there comparing our trauma to other people's trauma, there will always be someone that has it worse. Like that there is somebody on this earth right now that has it the worst out of everyone. But that doesn't mean that your experience is less valuable. You can't compare traumas to other people's traumas because it will never allow you to justify having emotions around that. Like you cannot do it. And that's something that I've heard a lot with sexual assault stuff as well. So like I've had a lot of friends who have been sharing their story with me, and they'll say, well, this guy only, fingered me or whatever, but his penis didn't go inside me. So it really wasn't that bad. Like not as bad as yours. And I just say, dude, it's both sexual assault. Like you're still sexually assaulted.
You were still violated.
Yeah. But it's really interesting how as people, we want to minimize our traumas, and whether that is through saying like, oh, well, this isn't as bad as when this other thing happened to me, or this isn't as bad as you experiencing what you've been through. But you're allowed to experience traumas and feel like it fucking sucked. And also, if you're someone who's experienced a lot of trauma, then more trauma happening to you kind of just feels, well, it either feels incredibly defeating, because I feel that sometimes, or it feels like whatever. Like, I've been through this before. Here we go again. You're just desensitized.
Yeah. Or even like don't want to talk to your friends about it because you just talked to them about a different trauma and you're like, well, now I'm just fucking redundant. Like yeah. My life's just redundancy and I don't want my friends to like get sick of that. But yeah, I like a few months ago, I could tell like something was like off with like my partner. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't like really say anything at first. Like I was like, oh, like, maybe it's just, whatever.
Yeah.
But then like we were like on the phone and I was just like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, you just seem kind of quiet, like, maybe tired. Like, I just want to check in. And he was like, yeah, it's just like, it's been a hard week. And I was like, okay.
Why?
Why, why didn't you tell me earlier? Like, why didn't you talk to me? Like, it's like the end of the week. It's been a hard week. Like, why didn't you talk to me? And he was like, because I can handle my shit. And I'm like, I know you can handle your shit. But like, what? Like, why did you not say anything? And he was like, because your stuff is just so much bigger than mine.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like,
bad dog.
I was like, no. That's not how this works. Like, just because your stuff isn't quote unquote as bad as maybe my stuff doesn't mean like
it's not bad.
It's not bad, or it doesn't have value, or it's not important. Like, it is just as important. And like, you have to talk to me. Like, I want to know that you're having a hard day. Like, I want to know you're having a hard week. Like, I want to know that stuff. Like, I want to like you to like be able to like share that with me, because like that like helps and that makes you like feel better. And it was like the same thing. Like when, 2 nights ago, he was like, well, your problems are my problems.
Yeah.
Like,
but he's not doing that. Like, he's not feeling that way about himself to you.
Yeah. And granted, this was like months ago.
Right.
It was like, right when we like first like started dating and things like that. So like it was a lot more new. And also like, let's be real, he's so fucking independent that I think that that's probably been like the biggest mindset shift for him has been like, yeah, like I can handle my shit, but like that doesn't mean I shouldn't like communicate. Like I should still communicate. Right. And I think that like is something that like you have to get used to, and like I struggle with too, and I think we all struggle with sometimes. But it was just like he was comparing his stuff to mine, and because of that didn't want to like place that on me because my stuff was bigger. And I just like think that's just like so detrimental, and like if we always did that all the time, like we would all be so fucked up. Like,
yeah, you would never be able to share anything.
Yeah, like all of my friends have been through horrible stuff.
Yeah,
horrible stuff. But that doesn't mean I'm not gonna like talk to them about something that like pissed me off or made me sad. Like that also like brings people like closer, right? Like when you like talk to your friends about something that's like bothering you, then they like understand you better and they know you better, and even if they've been through something that's like significantly worse, like they're not going to sit there and be like, well, I've been through this, so like I don't really like, who gives a fuck that you're going through that? Like
If they do that, literally kick them out.
Yeah,
of
they're
your
just a
house.
fucking awful person.
Tell
like,
them to play in the street.
yeah.
Sorry, that's rude. Another thought that I'd had when we were talking about this comparing trauma things is, I guess, I don't know if this is related or not, you can tell me, but I really don't like when people think because I've been through a certain thing that I'm like a pro at it. So
Okay.
Someone in my family loves to come to me and say, oh my gosh, so-and-so just died, or they lost a parent, or they lost a sibling, or they lost a friend. I think you should talk to them because you've been through this before. And it's kind of fucking hilarious to me because I am actually the worst person to talk to about death because I didn't really deal with it until I was older. So I have 0 tips on how to process death. Well, that's actually not true. I think I have advice for like my younger self, but I'm not a pro about like with somebody dying, you know? And I think it's really weird when someone says, oh, well, you've been through this, so you must know how to deal with it. But what really happens is you just get completely desensitized. When I am on the phone with somebody and they say, oh no, I have something bad to say to you, I just immediately go, did someone die? And when somebody says, oh, so-and-so died, I don't know how to respond.
I mean, who does though, right? Like that's just
no, but that's the thing is there's a certain expectation where if you've been through certain traumas X amount of times, or even like one big quote unquote big trauma one time, then you must know how to deal with it moving forward. But really what happens is I think you just become desensitized to it, at least for me. And I think sexual assault is probably one of the only things that I feel pretty good about giving advice on.
Yeah.
But death, I'm like, oh shit, that sucks, dog. I'm sorry. Sorry so-and-so died for you. I can't help you because it just literally sucks. The end, period.
But that's the thing, right? Is that like there are certain traumas where they happen and then they're done and it's awful, but like the only thing that you can do is just like one foot in front of the other.
Yeah,
you know, like go to therapy, like talk to people, like learn how to heal and process. But that's what you have to do. Whereas like for sexual assault, especially if you are like press charges or do anything after that, it's like, yeah, you've been through that. Okay, let's traumatize you a million more fucking times in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
And see if this person like goes to jail or not, which they probably won't. And like, so it's just like so different. And it's also different because like, if a family member dies, like they get sick and they die, that is no one's fault.
Right.
Right. But like in this case, it's like, no, someone did this to
like
you.
with sexual assault.
You are a victim of a crime. And like that person is just like out there living their fucking life. And you're dealing with all this other stuff, like placing blame on yourself because society has taught us to do that or like whatever. And so there's all these other layers to it that are so like fucked and complicated, and like societal reactions can be really fucked and bad and negative. And that's like really, really tough. Like you don't always get support, right? And like in a lot of other traumas, like you get immediate support and like great reactions. But with this, it's like everyone's just like because people have a hard time talking about sexual assault. People have a hard time understanding what it really means and its implications on people and how it impacts people and how hard it is to go through an investigation, how hard it is to press charges, how hard it is to go through a trial, how hard it is to talk to people and find that community. Like it's has all these other areas to it and it's become political and like, you know what I mean? Like it is just so much harder to, I don't want to say harder because like healing and processing like death and things like that is heartbreaking and tragic and just horrible. But I think that they're horrible in different ways, right? Like I do think that they are. And so like in our case, it was a fight and like we had to learn so much about what we were dealing with and what we were going through in order to get through it. Like we had to educate ourselves. We had to know what was going on. We had to like read books or watch like whatever it was, like, you know, read articles, things like that. Like you just had to understand the situation. And so now looking back at it, it's like you do feel like you can give advice because you went through it, you pressed charges, you went through an investigation, you went through the criminal justice system, like you experienced all these things that so many other people have experienced. And so you do have a platform and a place to be like, yeah, like I actually do understand this because it's a societal ill that, you know, needs remedy. It's a problem, right? And so like I feel like I can speak on behalf of this. And I think it's just a little different with like you know, death and things like that can look really, really different for people. And it's one of those things that it's like there is nothing that you could say. There is like no piece of advice or like direction that you could guide someone that's gonna make it feel better. Like it's just one of those things that's just so awful that like, you know, you never know what the right thing to say is, and there just oftentimes isn't a right thing to say. But sometimes when I think about like sexual assault, there really can be right things to say. Yeah, like there really can be. And it's just like if you know what those things are, you can feel like you can give advice. You can feel like you can talk to people about it. And I just think that like, you know, death and stuff like that can just be really, really tricky because it's a type of pain that like all you can do is give it time.
It's also, death is, I guess in this scenario with trauma stuff, we're kind of specifically talking about like death versus sexual assault, comparing them. And with death, it's, you know, somebody else dies. Like they die, that happened outside of your body. But sexual assault is, I always think of it kind of like a piece of you dying, which is very personal, you know, and whether that piece of you dying is innocence or it's a sense of ownership over yourself, or maybe it's, you know, enjoying sex is the piece that dies because you don't enjoy sex for a long time after being sexually assaulted. And so I guess when the more personal the trauma is, probably the more you're quote unquote qualified to talk about it. But it also is perhaps harder to become desensitized to it. I'm not sure. I only think about how I feel desensitized to sexual assault to an extent, but not the same way that I feel but not the same way or to the amount that I'm desensitized for death. Because like truthfully, when someone says someone dies, what do I do? Or someone died, I just want to walk away. I just want to be like, bye, figure it out. Because I can't help you. That's how desensitized I feel. I just don't even want it to be a part of me at all. Yeehaw.
But like sexual assault is just like so personal that like it's hard to take yourself out of that. And I think that like, you know, death can also be like super, super personal, right? Absolutely. Like if you're like
someone you're married to, maybe.
Yeah, your partner dies, like your mother dies, like, you know, that impacts you in ways that like are just so unimaginable. And like I think it's hard for you because like you did experience death at such a huge magnitude when you were so young that it was just like the ways that it was processed were just probably a little wacky, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think the ways that like our family processed those deaths were fucking weird.
And very different. Yeah. Because they're just older.
Yeah. Know? Yeah. And so I think that like definitely can kind of impact how you view it now and can like kind of fuck you up. And I don't think that's like means that there's like anything like wrong with you. I think that like that was something so horrible that like you went through, and so when other people like deal with that, it's just like nope, like hands off. Like I just like I can't deal. Like I cannot deal with it. Which like is like it's valid and it's hard, right? Like these things are so hard.
I had something that I just remembered. Once again, kind of related to this, kind of not, but kind of yeah. So when we were going through the court process, it took us about 2 years, a little bit over 2 years to actually like have the court martial, from when the event happened to me. For you, it's a little bit different. But the point of all of this is so there's EMDR therapy, which is a therapy that's specifically designed for people experiencing PTSD. Like it was designed for veterans. And there's like therapists do EMDR therapy a little bit different across the board, but the whole point of it is to kind of, you know, rewire patterns in your brain and sort of be able to move through trauma responses in a healthy way, basically. And it's not getting rid of the memory, but it's kind of fixing the memory so that it sits a little bit better in your head. That's how I've always thought about it, at least. And like I didn't do EMDR therapy until after the court case because my therapist really wanted to ensure that I could remember everything to the best of my ability. Like to keep the memory as painful as possible before court. Because if I had really spent the time, because EMDR therapy, if you've never done it, it's really hard. Like it is emotionally draining to a new type of extent than just normal therapy. But it was just very important that everything stayed as fresh as possible so that I could go up on the stand and be able to talk about how painful it was. Which that's horrible. Like literally, it's not that I wasn't allowed. Like I could have done EMDR therapy, but choosing to keep all of that stuff so raw would benefit the case, basically.
Yeah.
And that's sad, because I remember when I sat down to do the EMDR therapy after the court martial, it just felt like, oh, what do you mean this memory is maybe not going to feel quite as painful after this?
Yeah, like you just really can't imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
But it does happen. Like there is a lot of validity to those therapies and to like what's the therapy like where you like to relive it and like you learn how to cope?
Is that not EMDR? Exposure therapy type of thing?
Yeah,
okay.
like that type of stuff. Like it's like the hardest thing, and there's a time and place for it. You know, like I've had therapists be like, yeah, like we can do this, but like if you're not ready to do this, we should not do this. You know, it's like it's really taxing, but it is, I'd say, worth it for sure.
Is there anything happy we can wrap it up with? This episode feels kind of solemn.
Has anything good happened to you recently?
No, but I have like a funny story, I guess, kind of.
Okay.
Maybe it's not that funny, but it's a story.
We can end on a funny story.
My boyfriend was going to go skiing, and he had just gotten new gear, so he was kind of like going through his old gear, cleaning it out, moving into other gear.
Did he get cool gear? Does he look like a cool skier now?
Yeah, he no longer looks like a Jerry. My boyfriend can literally do a backflip on skis, and sometimes he has a goggle gap. So we fixed it now. He now has goggles and better jackets. But anyways, so he's cleaning out his gear, and he pulled out a McDonald's hash brown. So he had gone skiing a few weeks ago. So most likely it was from a few weeks ago. Like it probably wasn't from last ski season.
But it could.
But it was hilarious because it just was a hash brown. And also the hash brown looked exactly like McDonald's hash browns look from the day you bought
No, they're like
them.
they have like so much shit in them that like preserves them and makes sure they like never go bad. Like that was like when we were like really little, Tim was
her
like
brother.
Yeah, my little brother. We were in the car and my mom was driving us, and like we were on a long drive and Timothy was like really hungry. And my mom looks back and he's like eating something. My mom's like, Tim, what are you eating? And he's eating a fucking McDonald's chicken nugget that had been on the floor of the car for probably 6 months. And it was perfectly preserved.
Yep. Stunning.
Like if that doesn't scare you to eat McDonald's, like I don't know what will. Like that is so fucking disgusting. Like literally just like perfect chicken nugget still. And he couldn't wait. He was just chomping on it. And my mom was horrified.
I love me a McDonald's chicken nugget though, dog. I'm telling you, they're really good. They are so good. But shit's crazy. Thank you guys so much for listening to What They Don't Say. If you have any questions, hate comments, concerns, other questions and such, send us an email at whattheydon'tsay@gmail.com. Thanks for hanging out. Happy holidays. Whatever you celebrate or don't celebrate.
Sorry, like energy levels are kind of low right now.
I think it was just a serious conversation.
It was a serious conversation. But we are getting to the holidays. School's basically over. That's nice.
Aside from Lauren's 10-page paper that
I have due tomorrow that I've barely started. We're just not going to talk about it. It will get done somehow, some way. I don't know.
The procrastination monster will chase you fast enough and you will run.
Yeah. I have been running.
All the way to the finish line.
But yeah, better things are coming.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. Keep your head up. We love you.
Toodaloo.
We'll catch you on the flip side. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.